Hi, everybody. Nicole here from Hair of the Dog. How are you guys doing? I have a super special guest today that I am super excited to chat with and have you guys all be involved as well. I have Shelly Paulson from Minnesota up there. Is it still snowing up there? My aunt in South Dakota, I think, just got snow yesterday.
Yeah, the northern Minnesota is still getting snow, but we have actual leaves forming on the trees. It's glorious.
Yeah. So hard to believe it's been like 80s down here for the past couple weeks already. Anyway, Shelly is here. Shelly is one of my most favorite equine photographers. I think you're an equine photography genius. I'm super excited to have you here with us. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about you and what you do?
Well, I am solely an equestrian photographer. A lot of people are like, what, you only shoot horses? Like you don't do babies or weddings or families? And I mean, every once in a while I'll slip one of those in, but I used to be a wedding photographer, and then I had an accident and hurt my head, and weddings were just way too stressful. So I was like, I wonder if I could just make a living just doing horses. So I dove in, and now I am making a living solely photographing horses.
That's fantastic. Yeah, weddings, I couldn't imagine. I have some friends that do weddings that love it. I think you either love it or like will make you crazy.
You know, I loved it when I was doing it. Like, I have to say that there were so many years when I was super passionate about it. And it was probably the best training ground because all day long you're presented with challenges of light and location and moments and camera settings and which camera and which lens, and you have to make all these decisions really fast. And so I think it actually gave me a leg up, especially for the commercial work I do, because I'm often need to use, you know, off-camera flash or other kinds of situations where I have like very little control over what's happening. And so I feel like it was photography boot camp. And if a photographer hasn't been through like the gauntlet of wedding photography, they've really missed a intense learning opportunity.
Yes, for sure. No, it's so true. Yeah, because I mean, you have to be able to produce in any situation that is changing all day long. I know for me, just from finding inspiration for like style and images that I love and things that, you know, that just work that I love to look at. There's a lot of wedding photographers that are like some of my most favorite photographers because they can produce some like pretty amazing things. So yeah, so I always tell people to look outside of whatever genre you're shooting. Like look outside the photography industry, but at least start looking outside your niche for inspiration, because otherwise it all just starts to look the same.
That is 100% true. And there's still wedding photographers whose work I will follow and look at because they're innovators. They're like two man, the mans. They are just like, they're always just doing things that are so outrageous and crazy, and it's like I get really inspired looking at their work.
Yeah, nice. Me too. That's fantastic. All right, so awesome. So yeah, so you used to do weddings, now you do horses. Why did you choose horses? What started your love of horses? I know for me it runs deep from when I was 8 years old. I had done like gymnastics and tap and like all the things, you know, for one season or one like, you know, 12-week lesson program that I'm like, nah. So I wanted to ride horses. My mom's like, okay. And then the first lesson, you know, I learned how to tack up and like clean the stall and brush the horse. We didn't even ride. So my mom's like, this isn't gonna last. Well, yeah, I'm 42 and I still like want to go to the barn every day. And want my own horse again.
It was a similar kind of journey. I mean, when I was 10, I started taking lessons, and basically from that point on, every summer was spent on horseback. And I didn't do the fancy riding you did. It was mostly like, you know, games and a few pleasure shows and stuff. But then when I went to college, I kind of stopped riding in there. And then like the first job I got, I bought a horse. And I still have that horse. She turned 27 on Sunday. And and I've had her since she was 2. So this is like I think at some point here we're going to cross that line of I've had her like more than half my life. And I'll never have that opportunity again. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was actually working in graphic and web design, and more and more of my clients wanted photos. So I just picked up a digital rebel, you know, like
Yeah.
the old silver body where you go over like 400 ISO and the grain is crazy. And of course, you know, I love horses and I have a camera. So one of the first things I pointed the camera at was horses. And from that point on, I took photos of horses a little bit more. But it really wasn't until I quit weddings that I had like just the space to really go full on with the equine photography. But yeah, for sure, just started with a love for the horse. And then when I picked up the camera, it was kind of like, well, of course, these beautiful creatures that I love so much should be photographed.
Nice. That's kind of how mine started too. I started with, I was a zoological animal trainer for 13 years, and I was always taking pictures of the animals that I worked with, not having any clue what I was doing, you know, like on people professional, like no idea. Right. But, and then when I knew I had like an entrepreneurial bug and I didn't want to like continue working for somebody else. And, you know, I still love my job, but I was kind of like middle management. So I reported to the executive director, and it was like, you know, I had lost the spark of the reason that I went into that world. So yeah, so I ended up starting with families and pets because I was like, well, there's no way I can be just a pet photographer.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know,
you can make, I think, any niche work.
Yeah, and I think it's becoming more and more possible. Like I feel like 5-10 years ago, maybe there wasn't a market for it, but now it's common to be photographed with your pets.
Yeah, which is which is really awesome because I think people sometimes get a little bit, maybe not frustrated is the right word, but like put off a little or a little doubtful that they can make, you know, like pet photography, equine photography work. But the more of us there are, the more potential clients there are because there's more market education and more people know about it. So all of a sudden, as there becomes more of us, there becomes more potential clients to draw from because you don't have to spend as much time educating people that you exist.
Yeah, or that it's a good idea because, like, I mean, I can't wait. I have a friend coming in a couple of weeks, and I can't wait for her to photograph me with my dogs and my horses, and I mean, my husband too. But, you know, just like I can't imagine, even if I wasn't a photographer, not having photos with the pets that I love because, you know, the older we get, the more we know how frequently we have to say goodbye to them. And now as a photographer, I see that cycle happen a lot. And so it's really a privilege to be able to kind of freeze those moments for clients.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, speaking of clients, who tends to be your main target client?
Well, my business is divided into kind of 3 different parts. And portraits are a part. They were kind of the original foundation. And then I broke out into commercial work a couple years ago. I mean, I did some in 2009 and I was super overwhelmed. I wasn't ready. And so, but maybe like 3-4 years ago, I started doing more commercial work. And then really shortly after that, I started licensing more and more images to publications. And then in the last year, I've started doing some writing, which is terrifying. And, but it's gone well. So, but I'm just like, oh, how much writing do I want to do? And it makes me this nervous. Right. But, you know, so it's kind of a 3-part business. And then just in general, I have a stock photo library that I license images to publications and brands. So there's a little bit of overlap between the brands and the editorial with my stock library.
Awesome. Awesome. That's fantastic. I think most of us, I mean, I know even for me, like I think I could handle the pressure of commercial, but it doesn't fit my lifestyle because got 2 young kids and like the last minute of the commercial world, like we need this and we need it yesterday. It just would not work with me. So I really don't seek out any commercial work at all. I think most of the people are mainly portrait, like interested in adding portrait stuff to maybe they shoot pets or, you know, whatever else they're already shooting, but maybe they're not shooting a lot of horses yet. But who are your main for your portrait clients? I know for me, when I don't shoot a ton of horses, I probably photograph maybe 5 horse clients a year. So most of my clientele is dogs, but I still do a couple horses. And my clients tend to be senior girls and their high school senior girls and their horse. Or sometimes, you know, somebody older, like some empty nesters. I had this amazing couple last year and they're Frisian. And they were just hysterical. They loved this horse so much. And they were, I think, we were, in the sales room and like showing them the different images and like, if we have to sell a grandchild, we will, because we want all of these things.
I love it. Forget the children. Forget the grandchildren. We love our horse.
Yeah. I want this big picture of my horse.
That's awesome.
It was so funny. But yeah, most of mine, I'd say 75, 80% of my horse clients are high school seniors and their horses. What about you?
I would say very similar, maybe not that high. It's really hard to tell. This is something I should probably know, right? But I have quite a few end-of-life sessions that I call remember sessions.
Oh, yeah.
And then just, I have a couple families that I do on a regular basis with their horses. Yeah, and then seniors. I mean, seniors are definitely have been a really consistent type of clientele that, and I love those sessions because, they're at this like beautiful transitional peak moment in their lives, and they're, usually been riding a ton. Their horses look amazing and they look amazing and the life's amazing. And, all the pieces can come together to create some really, really great images.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. What do you do for marketing your equine stuff? What do you do mainly now? I imagine now you have a lot of word of mouth.
Yep.
Is that your main marketing avenue now, or what kind of stuff do you do now? Or did you do when you got started to maybe start to find those clients?
When I got started, before the internet was born, no, I'm just kidding. But there was a time in my very early career, because I started in like 2004, 2005, and I'm not joking that, there was no Facebook, right. And it was extremely hard to build a clientele because unless you were a horse show photographer, people didn't know about you. Right. And I never felt like horse shows were my thing. It reminds me of school portraits. You're just kind of one after the other, and it's a great business model, but the creative type in me couldn't handle that. And so I used to put postcards up, and I still do at local tack shops and farm stores. I would run ads in local horse publications. I still do that. Our Dressage and Eventing Association, I photograph their banquet every year. Nice. And then they run ads for me, and it's kind of a two-pronged approach in that I photograph their events. I'm there and I'm talking to people, and they get to ask me questions, and I get to put things like my products out on a table and have them, kind of touch and feel some things and really think about it. And that crowd, the dressage and eventing crowd, does tend to be the majority of my clientele, just because of the part of the Twin Cities I live in. It's very concentrated of those kinds of riders. Obviously social media now has become, a big source of leads, and just general like name recognition, work recognition. You tag your clients, or they share and they tag you. Yep. But if I really look at it, I'm still getting a ton of leads from Google, which means my website, which means we can't ignore our websites, which a lot of people are like, I don't even need a website. I just need Facebook and Instagram and I'm good to go. Yep. But honestly, like a lot of the people hiring us for senior photos are not the seniors. A lot of times it's the parents, or the senior might say, this is the person I want. But the parent, I can almost guarantee you, is going to go to your website.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I feel like that's being overlooked a little bit by younger photographers starting out relying solely on social media. And after I really looked at things, I've decided I'm going to double down on blogging. I'm going to make sure constantly putting new stuff on my site and really keep it up there in Google so I'm found.
Yeah, no, that's so important. The SEO, I found that most of my clients come to me from Google. Most come from the SEO. And then it's just so critical. I can't stress enough for you guys how critical it is to have a good web presence, to have a good website, to have a well-designed website. And you don't have to spend a fortune. It doesn't have to be involved. It can be like 4 pages, like a home page, an about page, a portfolio page, and an investment page. Like that's it. That's all you need with contact. It doesn't have to be big and crazy. Just make it clean, easy to navigate, not high-end pricing stuff on there. Like I've never put, like, my packages go from $1,000 to $3,000 because people see the high one and they're like, oh, no way. So you got to keep a little bit of price, but not too much. It's like the 3 bears.
Yes.
But even if you get a great referral, like one of your clients is singing your praises and to their friend, their friend is still going to go to your website before they call you, almost every single time. And if your website is like, you know, really old fashioned, like the dark, there was a while that it was like popular to have a really dark background with like white letters. And that it just looks really dated and it's hard to read and it's not a good user experience. And the same thing with the images that you choose to put on there. I would rather see you with like 4 images in your portfolio than like 20 where there's 4 great ones and like 15 okay ones.
Yes, showing and also with that portfolio to not show I can do all the things.
Yep.
Showing your favorite work that you want to do more of. I see so many people being like, I want to show that I'm just like everyone else and I can do these portraits just like everyone else. And I'm like, no, because if your work looks the same as the next photographer, as the next photographer, as the next photographer, you will be shopped on price.
Yes.
And
never win that.
Never win that. And so I've endeavored to create work that's true to my heart and true to my aesthetic so that I can really get people excited about hiring me versus somebody else and feel like the investment is worthwhile.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, for sure. My good friend Kaylee Greer, you guys know her from Dog Breath. I was talking to her like a year or 2 ago and she totally changed my perception of like how important it is to curate what you show. Like you can shoot different things, but you really need to give some thought as to what you're putting out in your portfolio and your social media and to curate it to be the style that you want to be known for, to be the images that you want to create, the images that speak to your heart. And you can still do other things. Like, you know, she still shoots natural light for half the shots that are shoot. She just doesn't show it. You know, like I will do a studio session for a client, but I don't really show it because I don't want to do more of, you know, so if it doesn't fit in my curated style, it just doesn't get included in that kind of thing. So that kind of just changed the way that I really thought about what am I showing and like how am I presenting my brand and my work to the world. So yeah, I'll share that.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we could do a whole webinar just on websites. It's just, well, and isn't that's part of your business course, right? You talk about that in your business course.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so important. SEO, and there's a ton of great resources on SEO out there. Like if you just Google basic SEO, like top 10 SEO things, I mean, it's not that complicated. It just requires a consistent effort to at least get it started. And one of the big things with SEO is the length of your website. So that's something that does just take time, but there are tricks to get it going a little bit faster, like some backlinks from other sites, you know, signing up for the webmaster tools on Yahoo and Bing and submitting your site to be crawled by them so they know that it's there. You know, your Google My Business, which, oh my God, when I moved, I think my Google My Business is still screwed up. So we moved from Pittsburgh to Charlotte. We built a house. So it's a brand new house on a brand new road that didn't exist.
Oh no.
So it's been super fun. I mean, it took a month before they would pick up my garbage.
Oh my gosh. Moving is horrible. I mean, it's worth it, but it's horrible. Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. And finally, and I think I got my Google thing shut down because I think they probably thought it was a fake address. And then they thought that I was serving like more than my local area. And oh my God, it took months to get it settled. And I still think I lost a lot of my reviews. I need to email some past clients. Just be like, can you please go leave a review again?
Oh no. Yes.
Anyway,
awkward.
I didn't have that, but yeah, it got super frustrating.
Yes. Well, and one thing I wanted to add too about marketing, because I know this is a question I get, especially from people who aren't like equestrians. And they're like, well, how do I even like get started with marketing to equestrians in my area? And one of the things I suggest, and I suggest it for a lot of reasons, is to find a barn that has lessons, like riding lessons, and start to get to know people in the equestrian world, and do some practice sessions with people who have horses who are connected. Yeah. When you choose a person to practice on, choose somebody with a social media following. I mean, this influencer thing is for real. Yeah. And so you kind of have to find your way in by being like them. I mean, that's been a marketing thing for a long time, like be where your clients are. Yeah. And so, sometimes I go to horse shows or I go to a barn and I do a shoot for something. And it's like just meeting people and talking to them and being in the places that they are is really key. Like like we have a horse expo here in town, and I walk around and I see people I know and make friends, and just like being in a place where the horse people hang out is really key. And there was a tack shop on my end of town for the longest time, had my work hanging in the tack shop with my name next to it. And that was, they got free art for their tack shop, and I got free advertising, and it was a great trade. So there's probably a tack shop or a farm store or something in most major metros that would hang up photographers' work, and that's a really great way to get it in front of equestrians.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like the equestrian market is a lot of more kind of like old school marketing, like actual getting out from behind your computer and talking to people.
Yeah.
Is really important. And
because horse people are out in the barn, they're out riding. I think they're on social media a little bit less.
Yeah.
Because they're busy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And dogs are kind of similar too. I mean, but the horses especially, I feel like the actual people connection and getting out there and making connections in your community is so, so important. And it still works no matter what kind of niche you're doing. That kind of marketing is never going to go out of style.
Right.
Humans, we want to connect with people. So when you do business with people you know, like, and trust. So they need to know you, and then they can like you and trust you.
Yeah. But if they don't know you.
So yeah, it's super important for sure. All right. So those are some awesome marketing tips. Tell us a little bit about maybe what you usually sell to your portrait clients, or what your most popular products are. You do in-person sales, right?
Yep. Yeah. I do in-person sales because I feel like it is part of my job.
Agreed.
And it's not just to kind of take pictures and then throw digital files at people and be like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to sell to you. They need you to sell to them. Because in this day and age, people, for the most part, are not going to end up with artwork on their walls like this unless you help them do that.
Yeah.
And so the reason I do in-person sales is so I can show, look at this beautiful giant canvas. I'll move the camera for people who are looking at vertical. And then I have 3 canvases here. I have a 16 by 24, a 24 by 36, and another 16 by 24 to kind of show like the, kind of an art collage, and just to be able to say, well, this is a 16 by 24. It looks decent by itself on a wall, but look how it is if you have a big wall. Right. And so I sell a lot of canvases. I sell a lot of metal prints. Equestrians love metal prints. Maybe it's because Shelly loves metal prints that Shelly's clients love metal prints.
Because I don't love metal. So it's not even a thing, and nobody asked for it. I sell a lot of framed canvas and framed acrylics because that's what I love.
Okay, that's funny. And I don't know if I've ever sold an acrylic, to be honest.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's interesting.
Know what you love.
There was a time when I was really into wood, and I sold a ton of it. And now I'm not into it anymore, and so I don't sell it. You're right. So it's me.
That's funny. That's awesome. Yeah, no, and people get so concerned with I'm selling, but you're not selling, you're serving. You're helping because it's overwhelming to get like, oh, here's a whole bunch of images that are beautiful and I love, and now I need to figure out what the heck to do with them. And maybe they're thinking they want something for their wall, but the only thing they've ever known is an 8x10 or maybe
8x10,
15, so they're not going to be secure enough in their decision to be like, oh my God, should I spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on this giant wall piece that seems really, really, really big?
Yeah.
They're not. They're just going to order prints because that's what they know. Maybe they'll get a little album or something, but they'll just get prints and digital files, which is really, really hard. Those are, I think, tend to be the most price sensitive products we can have is, an 8x10 and a print. I know for myself, I don't have single 8x10s on my price list. I sell them in a bundle of 5.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because I never want to say no to my clients, and I didn't ever want to be. I don't have a minimum order, so I didn't ever want to be in a position where someone's like, I just want to come to you and do a session for an 8x10, and for me to be like, well, I sell it, but you need to buy more than that. Like, I didn't want to have that weird conversation. So it's easier to say, well, if you'd like some 8x10s, I sell them in a package of 5, 49. So it's an easier way to have that conversation. Now, of course, if I have a client that gets a beautiful wall piece and they just want a 5x7 for their desk, I will 100% sell them a single 5x7. I just don't have it on my product guide. So I found that has been a super helpful way to help educate people on what's involved. I think that's part of the biggest challenge too, is people come to us and they see beautiful images and they're like, oh, I would love to have images like this. But they have no idea like what we do or what we offer or the possibilities of artwork. So they don't even know what to ask. So it's our job to like show them what's possible and showcase the artwork on our website and talk about it and have that as part of our inquiry process and our education process with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I do a dual approach too, in that I do sell digital files. But I also, every single client, everyone who hires me gets a photo album.
Nice.
Talk about something I'm passionate about. That is built into my collections that I have. Every collection has an album. Yeah. And then all the they get digital files of the album images.
Yep, perfect.
And that way, if they take it to Walmart, their flash drive to Walmart, and they print it out and it looks horrible, because it does, then they are going to see that that was not what I recommended, and that is not how the images look printed. And so they basically have a reference in the album, plus a beautiful album that they can enjoy a scope of photos, between 30 and 75, depending on the size of the album. Yeah. And I just love that. I feel like it's a compromise between I'm just getting a bunch of digital files and wanting people to have prints and enjoy their photos over and over again. And you can only put so many on your walls. Like, personally, my walls are full. I don't have a big house. My walls are almost too full of photos. And so, so I get it. Like, so I give people a generous print credit and an album, and then most of the time, then they add some things on top of there. Yeah. The other thing I really love about in-person sales is we talk about the images. And, I can put them up side by side if they're similar, and we can talk about what might make one better than the other. And then, like, well, what do you want retouched? Do you like hair flying in the backlight, or do you want me to kind of tone that down? Yeah. Like, is this thing on the horse a scar or a marking? I mean, I get to that level of detail with people when we sit down, and that way I'm able to really, instead of just lightly retouching all the images, I only retouch the images that they order. Yeah. And that saves me a lot of time, but it also allows me to be even more careful with what I'm doing when I retouch images for clients. And really, every image is a carefully edited work of art, instead of just, because of my time, just kind of having to half do it for each image. So
I agree. I'm the same way. Kathy wants to know where you print your albums.
Miller's and MPix Pro. Yes, I'm a huge Miller's, MPix Pro. They're all one company, by the way. Fan, and I print their signature albums. Yeah,
nice. I do my albums from Fineo, and my low end and my high end albums Fineo, and the Elements and the Art One, and then my middle album is the press album from Pro DPI.
Okay.
It's my most popular because it's the middle one. Because then people buy in the middle.
Yes. I was with Sarah Earnhardt of Sarah Beth Photography the other day, and she had some Vision Art Book albums, or she had a Vision Art Book album, and I used to do only Vision Art when I was wedding photographer, but the cost of them is a little high for me for portrait clients. But once I saw it, I'm like, looks like I'm going to be going and getting a sample from Vision Art, because they print on that beautiful fine art giclée, cotton paper, and it's just delicious. And I'm sure I have clients that are going to want to spend extra for that.
Amazing. Well, and the beauty of having something like that, like a high-end either art piece or album, is that then it makes your normal ones look really affordable.
Yes, exactly.
People will buy that high-end one, but it's a price anchor that people are like, oh, well, gosh, that's beautiful, and I'd love to do that. But it gives them permission to invest in kind of that middle of the road one.
Yeah. And it makes the other ones look great.
Sarah's on here. She said, you're giving away my secrets, with a smiley face. I saw when I was at Park Zealand, Craig from photography, He had one of his Graphy Studio albums there, and it was beautiful. It's like, oh, yeah, like
we easily get lusting after different products. But I think probably because we're so used to what we're selling, we're like, oh, shiny, something new.
Something new. This is amazing.
That is one of the things I miss about going to WPPI, which I used to go and work for Zenfolio there. And
yeah,
I miss being able to walk around and just have that discovery of new product experience.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was the WPPI that I went to, that they were there when Whitewall was there. I literally saw there, because I had never wanted to sell acrylics before, because I'd never seen an acrylic that wowed me. But from like across the trade show floor, it's like a moth to a flame. I was like, oh, look at those, they're so beautiful. So yeah.
I love it.
So good, so good. Oh, awesome. Some like great knowledge we're dropping here. I think we maybe want to, like, for people that maybe are just starting to get into pet photography or into equine photography, maybe they're doing people or dogs or whatever, but they haven't grown up around horses, or even if they have been around horses, they're not really sure for getting into equine photography specifically. You created something amazing, didn't you?
I did. Did I tell the story?
I think we should tell them about it.
I think so. Okay, so this is the little announcement I was hinting at. And I don't know, if you follow me on social media, you might have seen a post earlier this winter about, I was asking for ideas for an ebook, for like a bunch of ebooks possibly. And I got some great ideas. And then Nicole reached out to me and she says, can we talk? Now, those of you who don't know Nicole, she is just a fantastic pet photography educator, and she has great systems in place and tons of knowledge. And she's like, let me help you. And I said, please help me, because this is not my area of expertise. And really, like, selling ebooks and creating educational content. Yes, I have a YouTube channel and whatever, but I'm a little bit haphazard. I'm not like a super focused, person. So knowing Nicole and knowing how smart she is and how successful she is, I was like, yes, please, let's talk. And so we have some plans, but our plans started with an ebook that's focused on getting started with equestrian photography. And we named it The Quick Start Guide to Equestrian Photography. And it's 30 pages of goodness about safety and about handling horses and about posing, and what am I forgetting?
Yeah, we have the horse behavior on there, working safely. Shelly's tools, her favorite camera lenses.
The camera settings.
Yep. Preparing the horse and rider for the session. Getting all those ears up, why it's so important, and all the little tricks, because horses are not like dogs. Usually dogs, most of them, you can get some different sounds, and there's a sound or two for horses, but they're a little bit, I think, harder than dogs.
Yeah, I would agree. You get a good squeaker on a dog and you're usually good for a while.
Yeah. And then posing horse and rider, because I know when I started shooting horses, photographing horses.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that one.
I get out there, and it's funny, when I photograph dogs, it was so much like dog. Okay, then I bring in the owner and I do some stuff. But when it's the horses, it's like the horse and rider for the majority of it. And I do just the horse by itself, but it's usually the horse and their owner for the majority of the session. And I was just like, how do I start creating variety? Because this is hard.
Yeah, it is hard. Because you got like this 1,000-pound flight animal that you're trying to like get them to stand some way and a human to stand a certain way, and then there's chaos all the time because horses move a lot. And so I break down a bunch of poses. It's interesting because a lot of people think I don't pose people, right? And the truth is I pose everyone all the time. I just don't heavily pose. Like I don't pose down to the fingertips, like I just generally give people enough direction so that they feel like confident in what I'm doing and confident in their pose. And then I kind of let the magic unfold. And so that's what I do is I basically share my framework of what is it, about 8 different 6 to 8 different poses of just kind of how I directed them into that position, and then what happens after that. So that's a big part of the book, and I think it's something that somebody, especially who hasn't had a lot of experience with equestrian photography, is really, really going to benefit from.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when you're photographing, especially a high school senior, like they're and even anyone, any human in front of your lens is going to be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. So by being able to give them that like light direction and kind of set them up and say, okay, now do this and bend this way and like make sure you turn a little bit this way. And you tell them, you know, one of my favorite lines is, if it feels uncomfortable, you look great.
Yeah, right. That's very true.
The more random you feel sometimes, the better it's going to look. But I think it's so important so that they then become more confident and comfortable in front of your camera, because you're telling them what to do in a nice way. And you're telling them, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. You can show them like a back of the camera. I give them a little sneak peek. Look how gorgeous.
Me too. Yep.
Yep. And then they start to just relax, and then you can really start to create that connection, which I think you're masterful at creating that connection. You talk about that in the ebook too, about how you can really get that connection between horse and rider, which is just what people want. That's why they're hiring you.
Yeah, totally. They don't just want all posed portraits. And so it's like, how do you make that transition from the posed portrait to the moments between them and their horse? And it's I know when I'm photographed, if the photographer's not talking to me and giving me positive feedback, I get super nervous.
Yeah, right.
And so posing, I think, is like just critical. Like you can't not go into a session and without poses. And maybe you could share about kind of our little extra bonus that will help people with that.
Yeah, you know, when you get to a session, you're like, oh gosh, I wish I had that here, because I kind of forget there was something. What exactly was it? Ooh. As part of the ebook, we have a little sticky album, like mobile app that you can download on your phone that has all of Shelly's favorite poses in it. So you can just be like, hold on. Okay.
Yeah, this one. Okay. You're doing it on the fly, like, oh, I need to check my camera here really quick.
Or if the horse is like walking around for a second, you can just say, go ahead, take him for a little walk right there. And then, you know, and you can be ready to go. So that's part of it. It's super cool. Yeah, Holly wants to know if there's anything about choosing locations. There's a few sessions she's had with horses, where the locations can be messy. We don't have locations particularly in this one specifically, because I don't know about you, Shelly, I pretty much almost always shoot at the barn that the horse lives at 90% of the time. And really it's just about, you know, anything with photography is always like, it's kind of the opposite of a painter. Like a painter has a blank canvas and you're adding things. In photography, we're subtractive. So we're like, okay, there's all of this. We don't want all of this. How can we subtract? So I find a long lens, and you can usually find something. There's fence lines. There's a side of a barn. There's, you know, beautiful light from if you close the barn. I mean, you're up in Alberta, so there's definitely indoor places because you're cold. Beautiful, just doorway light. You know, there's things you can usually do at every spot, but we might have to add that to it.
Well, and that is coming with some future projects that so that's definitely on the what's the word? Anyway, it's in the plans. It's already been outlined. So watch for more resources to come, but they won't be coming right away because I'm about to head into our very short summer here in Minnesota, and so we're looking at, you know, releasing future resources, but not right away. So this guide is going to be just great for people wanting to get started and be successful right out of the bat versus, you know, kind of struggling.
It's such a quick, easy win. And it is, somebody's asking if it's available now. Tammy was asking if it's available now, and it is. I just put a link. Did it show up? I think. Yeah, there it goes. hairofthedogblog.com/equine. For the next week until next Tuesday, the 14th, it's actually intro pricing. So it's only $79. It'll be $97 after the week. But I mean, truly, it's a quick, easy read. It's quick, it's literally quick start. So you can go through, you can read it in a sitting, and it's chock full of like so much good information. I learned things reading through it. It was awesome. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it's dense information.
Holly. She's from Alberta. Oh, maybe you're talking to Holly. Never mind. Forget I just said anything. Go ahead, Shelly. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to say, it's I've taken like 13, 14 years of experience and really consolidated it. One of my things whenever I do a video or an ebook or anything is I don't want to waste anyone's time.
Right.
And so it's very concise. It's easy to read. There's lots of photos and illustrations. And so it's a guide to get you started quick, but there's a lot of meat in the actual ebook. And I really enjoyed writing it. It's always fun because it makes me to really think through, well, how do I approach that and put it into words? So
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's really great. And truly the posing and the capturing connection stuff is so key. Kathy's asking, is that with the mobile app? Yeah, the mobile app's included. So when you guys, if you go to hairofthedogblog.com/equine, it'll take you to the place where you can get your, excuse me, your guide, and you just sign up there and it'll take you, it's actually into like the Hair of the Dog Academy, a little product, and you can download it there and you'll see the link for the mobile app in there as well. So it is all right there. Yeah, do you guys have any other questions about that? I know somebody asked back here, I forget who it was pretty far back there, about strobes with horses. And I know from my experience, most of them are usually okay. Sometimes you might find one that's not, and it's all about communicating for me with the owner and they know their horse and testing it in a safe environment, like, you know, and far away, not like right up in their face. But yeah, I found most of them have been pretty okay with it.
Yeah, the most scary part about it for the horses that I've used strobes with is the softbox.
Yes, exactly.
Itself is kind of a terrifyingly large black box on a stand. But usually if you just let them go up and sniff it and check it out, they're fine. The actual flashing doesn't seem to bother them. I had one horse that every time she'd like startle. It was a friend's horse, and she was just rolling. She's like, really, you're the only horse? And it was like at a horse show where I was doing black backgrounds for the riders, and we'd had horse after horse, and her very mellow quarter horse was just every time startling at the flash. Yeah.
Yes, they're all special snowflakes.
They are. It's so true of horses.
They want to know if we have tips on IPS and ebook in-person sales. Not in this ebook, but in the future thing, Shelly is putting together an amazing equine photography, very comprehensive course that will be probably next fall, winter at the earliest. But there's a lot of free IPS information, Diana, on the Hair of the Dog blog. If you just go to hairofthedogblog.com and search IPS or in-person sales in the search bar, you'll find lots of things there. Vonda wants to know if you do most of your photos with natural light or flash.
Mostly with natural light.
Yeah, me too.
It's pretty rare that I use a flash. Most of the time it's probably commercial work, or I'm trying to do something funky.
Yeah. I know the only time I usually use a strobe is I like to do like to go inside somewhere and then use the strobe. I'm here, horse and rider's next, strobe's behind horse and rider, coming back for me just to get some rim light, just a black and white rim light thing. That's really the only thing I usually use my strobe for with horses.
I think that really helps black background shoots, especially if the horse is black. Yeah. I've seen too many ear tips just kind of fade off into blackness.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Shelly, for joining us. I think this was like so much great information. Thank you all of you guys for joining us. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to join us here. You can check out the guide over at hairofthedogblog.com/equine, and you can save some money. It's only $79 until next Tuesday. So hopefully you find that helpful, and we'll see you around the Facebook group.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.